to share, if there's a pop-up, I'll have to share that individually. Glad we got that figured out. So this in particular is the batch enrollment file that you would be filling out. It has everything that we need to open an account for your new employee here at the top. Everything in bold is required. And also if you hover over it or even click on it, it will tell you what's needed, and it'll also tell you the format that it wants things in. It's very important to enter this in the correct format so the account gets opened properly, and so that your file will go through. The anything that is not in bold is not required. But what I was stating before we had the tech issues, or at least the human issues on my side, is that email and home phone are not required fields for you to open the account for your employees. However, they are required for verification if the employee were to call in and need some assistance with their personal account. So I strongly advise that you do add an email and a phone number, even if the only email and phone number you have is the work email or phone number, something that they'll be able to verify. They do have access to go in and update this information or change this information if need be. But something initially that they have so that they can verify in case they need to call in. Here is also what's necessary is the account active date. Contribution level is not something that's necessary. There are two contribution levels, either the individual level or the family level. The main difference between those two is the amount of money that they are allowed to contribute. If there is nothing in this contribution level field, the system automatically defaults to individual. If that were to occur and it automatically defaulted to individual and they need to be family, or if someone gets married and they move from individual coverage to family coverage, it's definitely not anything that's hard to change. It's something that the consumer can change on their portal. You guys can call in and request that we update that information for the employee, and the employee can call in on the consumer helpline and request that update as well. But it's not necessary. It's not required to be here. However, this is where you put the contribution level in, and terms and conditions. Because these boxes are here, I know that you guys are an employer that has taken on the responsibility of ensuring that the employees accept their terms and conditions, whether you guys send them an email with the terms and conditions or you physically have them sign off on terms and conditions. Here is where you would let us know that they have accepted those. If they have not, or maybe somewhere down the line you're not able to get the terms and conditions to them, you can just click no. And if that is the case, then the employee will be required to accept their terms and conditions on their portal. As soon as you open an account for your employee, within 24 to 48 hours, they are assigned an account number. And at that point, you will be able to make contributions to the account once the terms and agreements are accepted. Also, when an account is opened for an employee, they automatically have what we call the consumer portal. The default information for their consumer portal is for their username will be their first initial, their full last name, and the last four digits of their social. The default password is going to be the last four digits of their social, their first initial, and their full last name.
Can you say that for me one more time? I'm sorry.
Yes, no, not a problem at all. I was going to ask anyway. Default username is their first initial, their full last name, and the last four digits of their social. So if the person was John Smith, his default username would be jsmith1234, assuming that's the last four of his social. The default password is going to be the last four of their social, their first initial, and their full last name. So once again, if it was John Smith, his default password is going to be 1234 jsmith. And these are in effect when you guys open when you guys as the employer open an employee account for them, so that they are able to log into their account. Once they do get logged in, they will be prompted to change their password, and they will also have the ability to change their username if they would like to something more convenient for them. But initially, for them to get into their account, the default settings will be in place. If they were to open their own account on 53hsa.com under your employer code, then they would have set their own password and username. If for some reason they're unable to get into their account or they forgot their passwords, if you guys are anything like me, I have a billion usernames and a billion passwords, and it's hard to keep track of all of them. They can call onto the consumer line, and we can definitely get that reset for them. Great.
Angela, or on the terms, hey, this is Jen. On the terms and conditions, if we select no, you had said when they logged into the portal that they would have to accept the terms and conditions on there.
Correct, on their portal.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What if they, instead of logging into the portal, what if they call in? Would they be able to accept that on the phone?
No, ma'am. They can only be accepted through the portal.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. All right.
Oh, Angel, can I ask a follow-up on that?
Yes, please.
All right. So let's say they call in and whoever answers sees that the terms and conditions have not been accepted. At that point, do they say, hey, you need to accept the terms and conditions? You can log into the portal and go in and complete that. Is there a reminder or anything at that point that they still need to go to the portal?
We will.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. We will definitely proactively offer that information to them and advise them to accept their terms and conditions.
Okay,
yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
And if you were to call in and say you're sending in a file and it won't send contributions for that person, we'll be able to tell you that it's because they haven't accepted terms and agreements, and that they'll need to go in and do that for sure. Yes, ma'am. We do proactively offer that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
This may be a crazy question, but when we go in and to the batch enrollment and we put an individual and we sign them up, can you do more than one, or is it just one person at a time?
No, you can do multiple people on the file.
Okay.
I've never seen 100 people on a file, but for sure you can definitely put 100 people on the file. As long as all their information is in there, the system will go through and open accounts for them. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions so far? You guys are asking really good questions, so I appreciate how interactive you guys are.
And maybe thank you. Maybe I didn't see the submit button. Is there a submit button, or am I just filling that information out and then leaving?
Once you fill that information out, you will need to save it to your computer. Some employers just save it on their desktop and they get rid of it once they're done. Some have a folder for all of the enrollments that they've done thus far. By any means, you're free to save that information however you'll need to, because you will need to refer back to it for the next step in the process.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Okay. Are you guys able to see my screen where it says the download batch enrollment template at the top?
I can't.
Mm-mm.
No. Okay.
No, we just see the WebEx screen.
Okay. And you can see it now?
Yes.
Okay. I say, no matter what, it always says I'm sharing my screen at the top. I'm like, can they see it or can they not? Okay. So once you fill out your Excel sheet and you have saved it, to your computer. You will then need to upload that. So it'll bring you back to this download template screen, which is what we just did. You'll click this next button here. Here you'll browse the file and you'll find the file on your computer and upload it. Once you upload it, you'll hit this import button. This is one of those stops that I can't go to because I have the read-only version, but you'll have the option to click this import button, and that will start the process of that file. Once you hit that import button, you shouldn't have to do anything else to that file specifically, but we'll get to if there's any errors in the file where you would find that information. Any questions about that part of the process? I know it's pretty straightforward, but okay. So going back to this imports tab on the side and clicking new import again. The first thing that we went through was the batch enrollment. So this is starting new accounts for employees, opening accounts for employees. The next thing that you'll be using this tab for is making contributions to your employees. So when you're making contributions, you're going to hit this contribution function here. You can click this pre-populate template, and what that will do is it will open up an Excel. When we download the template, it will open up an Excel file, and what it will have is all of your current active employees under your employer code under that file. I'm going to pop up the pre-populate template so that you guys can see what it looks like. But if it's not a pre-populated template, it'll look like what the the batch enrollment file looked like, where there was no information on it. So I'm going to click pre-populate template. You will have to choose a plan year. Pretty limited in what you can choose. Only HSA is the only option, so that's what you'll need to choose. Because I chose pre-populate template, it's asking me which plan I'll need to choose HSA. And from there, we'll click download template. Share my contacts. Okay, are you guys able to see my Excel file?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. So because I chose a pre-populated template, your employee identifier on this contribution file is going to be the employee's social security number. On a pre-populated template, it goes in order, essentially in number order. If it's not pre-populated, none of this information would be here. It would just be a blank file with the exception of these headers here. So you'll need to put in, if it's not already pre-populated, the employee social security number. Excuse me, you just want to put this in straight, no dashes or marks or anything like that. Just the social security number as it is. The contribution date. And it does need to be in this format, the month, day, and for a number year. No dashes or slashes. They should automatically be removed, but I found it's a lot easier if you just put it in the way that it requests that the information be in. One thing I want to tell you guys about the contribution date specifically is that it takes approximately 24 to 48 hours for contributions to post to the employee's account. So, for example, if you want contributions to post to the employee's account on Fridays, then I advise that you run your file on Wednesdays so that gives it a chance to post to the employee's account. If you run your file on the Friday that you want it to be posted, the employee contributions won't be available likely until Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday, depending on how busy the system itself is. And I will say on Fridays, it gets pretty busy specifically. Fridays and Mondays are the busiest day for it. So files tend to run a little bit slower. Contribution description is next. This is also a required field. And here under contribution description, it just needs to know if it's an employer contribution or if it's a payroll deduction. If you accidentally put employer contribution instead of payroll deduction on a file, it's not going to affect whether the money goes to the employee's account. It also will not affect the employee's tax documents or anything along those lines. It'll just change what it says it is, whether it's the employer contribution or payroll deduction. And that's in our system, as long as your system is still correct and you have it filed as an employer contribution or a payroll deduction correctly, then your records will be correct. And then most importantly, possibly, the contribution amount, which is also required. You don't have to put a dollar sign in or anything along those lines. So just the dollars and cents with a decimal point if necessary. In contribution amount, you cannot run negative numbers. They have to be positive. If you need to remove money from an employee's account, let's say you put in $100 and you should have put in $50. We are not allowed to pull from the employee's account without their permission. There is an employer reversal form that you would have to fill out. On that form, the employee also has to sign. So essentially, they have to be notified, and that gives us permission to remove the funds from the account and lets us know that they were notified of that. I have found, in my experience, that it is easier for most employers to just skip the next payroll. So if they get $50 contributions normally and you accidentally put in $100, then if you skip that next payroll, putting that into their account anyway, then that evens everything up. Does that make sense, you guys?
Yes, it does. Now, this contribution amount, the contribution amount.
Thank you.
Is the contribution amount per pay period that we're entering?
Is that per pay period that you're entering? Is the contribution amount per pay period that you're entering? You're breaking up a little bit. I want to make sure I heard correctly.
That's correct.
Yes, ma'am. Per pay period that you're entering. As the employer, you can make contributions as often as you deem necessary. So if you make them biweekly with every payroll, okay, you can do them that way. If you do them monthly, you can make those contributions monthly. There are a lot of employers that make the payroll deductions biweekly, but maybe your employer contributions you only make one time annually, or maybe even semi-annually. And you have the option to be able to do that as well. And you can do those on a separate file. So you have a lot of options as far as how often you make those contributions and even how you make the contributions. But most employers do it with every payroll.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. With contributions, you are only allowed to make one of each contribution type per day. So if you make a contribution to John Smith for today, an employer contribution and a payroll deduction, then you won't be able to make another employer contribution or payroll deduction for today. You will be able to do it for tomorrow or for any day going forward that you haven't made that type of contribution, but you won't be able to make two of the same type of contribution per day. And then plan name. Plan name is an optional field. However, I advise always putting in HSA. Every now and then we do see the file error out and it'll say there's nothing under plan name, and what it wants is for it to say HSA. This automatically populated for me because I used a pre-populated template. However, if you're just using a standard template or a plain template, it won't pre-populate for you. It'll just be empty. Any questions at all about the contribution file and what you would enter where or anything along those lines? Okay. One more thing I'll let you know before we are off of this template specifically is that if John Smith is getting two contributions today, an employer contribution and a payroll deduction, it'll have to be on two separate lines. So you could do the employer contribution on this line, and you could do the payroll deduction on this line. You would just put the employer contribution here and the payroll deduction on this line. and his employer identifier will be on both lines. Okay. If there aren't any questions, I'll go back to the actual employer portal. Are you guys able to see the employer portal browser window?
Nope.
No.
Just seeing the WebEx screen.
Every time I click share, every time I go back to the other one, it doesn't want to do it.
There we go.
It looks like down? Okay.
Yep.
So that's another template. After you fill it out, you're going to save that to your computer. We're going to hit this next button. It's going to ask you to upload it. So you're going to click this browse button and upload it from your computer, and then click import. And that's going to put the contribution file into motion. It's going to start processing. Here we go. Okay, so I just clicked on this imports link again. For everything that we were doing, we had clicked new import. But here, what I want to show you is that one. I'm sorry. Is there a question? No? Okay. For everything we were doing previously, I'd click this new import button, and that's to create the file. Once you have created the file and clicked that import button to start the process, you'll see it here pending, and then you'll see it here processing, and then it'll end up here under completed. Sometimes, depending on how many other employers are using their portal and making contributions, this could take a matter of seconds. This could take a couple of hours. Normally, this whole process takes a couple of minutes. Usually I see on average approximately 3 minutes. Sometimes once it refreshes to this screen, you won't even see it under pending or processing. It will have gone directly to completed. So once you have your files completed, you are able to look back over them here under the completed tab. This was the last file that was sent through. Whatever you name the contribution file, when you import it, that's what's going to pop up here at the top. Just based on the way this looks, I can see this was imported on 7/9/2021. It's taking a wild guess, but it looks pretty standard. That was probably the payroll date. If you click review, after you click on the actual file you want to review, it'll ask if you want to resubmit the file. If you have any errors on the file, you're able to click review and fix. Once you click review and fix, it'll show you each record line and what was the issue with that line specifically. So it could be that they couldn't find an account for that person. If that's the case, the system won't be able to fix it. Or maybe the social security number was put in wrong. Whatever the issue is, it will be listed here. And you can go from there. It's pretty standard exactly what's going on. If it is something that you're unsure about, you can definitely call the employer resource line, the employer support line, and we're happy to assist you with that. We are open from 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., and that's Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, to assist you with any file issues, or if you were unable to get into your portal and you need your password reset or something along those lines. We can definitely assist you with that. But if it is something that does need, if on the file it's, let's say an amount was put in incorrectly, you could click this fix all button and it would fix it, or it would take you to an actual page where you're able to fix it yourself, or you're able to input the correct information. Once you update the information that needs to be updated or corrected, you would hit Queue Record, and what that would do is that would send that particular line back into processing specifically. cancel. Because I couldn't change anything on here even if I wanted to. Back to review and back to imports. You can filter through files as well. On this right-hand side, you can filter from date or receive. You could search it by name specifically if you don't want to go through all these files, or if there was a possible error on a file that was way back. You can see files dating back to at least 3 years ago. So if this was something before 421, if you hit load more results, it'll just load more files. Any questions around that at all? Awesome. So the next link is going to be set up contributions on the left-hand side. This is where you would go to set up recurring files. Everything here under imports, when we're setting up new files, is going to be automatically a one-time file. However, when you are trying to set up a recurring file, you're going to come here. You can also come here to set up one-time files, but for recurring, you definitely have to come here. You would click on New Schedule. Whether it's one-time or recurring, you're going to click the appropriate option here. I'm going to click recurring for our purposes. Plan year is always going to be HSA. Click this next button. Go down. Because of the size of your company, you do not have the option to enter manually. The system physically won't allow you to, so I won't go through enter manually. But you're going to go to import file. Click the next button again. And because I chose recurring, here's where you set up your frequencies. So you're going to set up a start date. I highly suggest that you put an end date if you're setting up a recurring file. The reason I advise that is because the file will just keep processing for whatever frequency you choose, and that's going from year to year. There's usually a lot of changes with companies from tax year to tax year. So I advise doing an end date, even if the end date is just going to be December 31st of whatever tax year you happen to be in. Here you can choose all your frequencies, anything that you would need. If you needed to do a file one time every third month of the year, you'd be able to set that up here. For our purposes, I'm just going to choose random information. And here it's going to ask you if you want to pre-populate your template or if you want to download a blank template. That's going to pop up the Excel file that we looked at, the Excel contribution file. Once you fill that out and save that to your computer, I'm going to click this next button. It would help if I put in the information it asked me for. Doesn't matter that much, 24 to 48 hours. Your information, you've saved your Excel file to your computer. You're going to upload it the same way that we went through with the contribution files under imports. Once you have that file uploaded here, you're going to click import, and that's going to send it into processing. Any questions about setting up recurring files?
So I guess this would be if an employee calls and say they want to change their contribution. This is where we would go to the setup contributions. They want to change it from...
That would be if you already had a file set. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I apologize. This would be if you're setting up a new recurring file. If you were changing an already recurring file, you would just change that file specifically. Do any of you happen to know if you'll be doing recurring files, or if you'll just upload a new file every time you have a new payroll or anything along those lines?
I think we will be making the changes as well. If they want to make a change, $50 per pay, they want to do $100 per pay.
Right, but you would change your actual file. Here's where you would come if you had a recurring file that you needed to update, then you would do it here. But if you do all of your files individually, which is what this employer currently does, then when you submit your file, you would just make sure that that change is already on your file before you submit it.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
On the Excel file that you fill out, on your contribution file, if there is a change before you submit that file, you make that change and then you submit your file. If you had a recurring file here, then you would change. This is where you would come to change your recurring file. Currently, I can tell you that there are no recurring files set up for this employer. If there were, they would be listed here, and there would be an edit button on the right-hand side for that particular file.
Okay.
But because there's no recurring files, this is not where you would come to change that. You would change that on your actual Excel, your Excel contribution import before you send it to us. Okay. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Does that make sense? That's what
it does.
I really want to say. Okay, as long as it makes sense. So next I'm going to go to the reports tab. You probably won't use this as often. But here is the employer fee funding notification. This is for a report that shows the fees that you specifically pay for your employees. They'll all be listed here along with the amount that you will be charged, that will be debited from the employee and from the employer account, so from your account. And there's a new one that's ran every month for you, because they're only charged monthly for it. Here's the account detail report. It's just an overview of all the individual payroll deductions and employer contributions that you've made to each individual employee, which is a helpful file. I know, especially when employers are reconciling their books and whatnot, they generally use this report. The employer summary report it will tell you if an employee's account is active. Active status means they can receive contributions. It will also tell you if there is a hold on their account, which would prevent contributions. So if there is an agreements hold, meaning they didn't accept their terms and agreements, that will be on this report. The other thing that is also on the report is if they have an identity verification hold. Usually people end up with identity verification holds if, for example, they've recently moved, so there's no history of this particular person at this address. Then we might require further verification of that person before they'll be able to receive contributions to the account. You'll find that information there. And then under the funding collection notification, what this will show you is if someone is on hold specifically. So if they do have an agreements hold or an identity verification hold, and you attempt to make contributions to that account, we aren't able to post those contributions to the employee's account. So all of those contributions are on hold. They do not get pulled from your account until they actually post to the employee's account. So this is your hold report showing you anybody that you may have on hold. So let me go in and download that, because that'll be something that'll be good for you guys to at least lay your eyes on. Are you guys able to see this form? It says hospice compasses, DPA.
Yes. I can
date
see it.
7/7/20. Okay. Gotcha. Popped up in the browser, so it works. So summary, this will be your full contribution file if you had one pending right now. This will show that full amount. What I want to bring your attention to is the funds on hold. So it tells you the contribution type and the amount, so how much is on hold. So you guys currently total have contributions of $1,746.52 on hold. And beneath, under funds on hold, you'll see it shows everybody that's on hold. To find out why they were on hold, you would need to go to your account detail report to see that information. But these are all funds that have not been pulled from the employer account because they either have an identity verification hold, which is something the employee specifically has to take care of, or an agreement hold, which is also something the employee specifically has to take care of. If, for example, Ms. Kathleen Zimmel accepts her agreements, if that's the kind of hold that she has, what will happen is these two contributions will then be posted to her account and in turn will come out of your account as the employer. Any questions around that at all so far? If you need someone removed from this report, for example, like maybe Mr. Norcutt is no longer with the company or something along those lines, and you want him removed from your funds on hold report, give us a call and we'll escalate that to have them removed from your report. Once they are removed from the report, you won't have to worry about any funds coming out of your account from them being removed from the report. That's all that I have for reports. Were there any questions around the reports tab at all? Okay, employees. You can see the information that we have on file for each individual employee as far as their personal information. Also, any contributions that you've made to their account, you're able to see. So you can search them by name or ID, which is going to be their social security number. You can also filter them based on their status, whether they're active or inactive. Active meaning their account is open, inactive meaning their account is no longer open. So just go to the first person here on file, click on their name, and this is the summary page. It's going to tell them if they're enrolled. It's going to show you all of the contributions made to their account, HSA updates, if their status has been changed recently, if their debit card has been mailed. It's always going to say enrolled in HSA because this is the HSA account specifically. But if you were to click on that, it would give you all the contributions that you've made to their account so far. And you'll be able to view contributions and you'll be able to view deductions, which would be your employer reversals if there have been any on the account so far. Under the contributions tab, this is just going to list all the contributions that you've made to their account thus far individually, whether it's employer or payroll deductions. Next to the name, if you click on view profile, this is where you are able to see all of the personal information that you would have put into the batch enrollment file or that they would have put in when they opened their account. Sometimes employees forget the phone number that they have on file or they forget the email address that they have on file. If they were to come to you and ask for that information, this is where you would find it. Everything that we have here is exactly what would be listed on their account in case they needed some assistance in getting and being able to verify their account. Under tools and support, this is where you're going to get your portal links where you'll find employer reversal forms that you may need to send out or even a profile change form that you may need. There's an active plan list here. And there's also resources here for you if you had further questions as far as where to find information, different forms that you may need, the direct deposit form in case an employee needs that. I don't think that you guys will need that information. But what's nice about the direct deposit form specifically is that it does have our routing number on it. So if they need the routing number for the HSA account, to be able to provide that information to them. And one more thing before I open it up for any final questions you may have. If you need to add another portal user for whatever reason, you're going to use the employer profile change form, which is found here. The profile change form in any form that you would be sending to us. Portal users that are available in case you had to send in the form to get someone added or something like that. But the profile change form is what you would use for that. Okay. With that,
Did not see the employer profile change form. I'm sorry.
I didn't actually click on it, but that is under tools. On the left-hand side, there under between employees and requests, it'll say tools, and you'll be able to click on that at your leisure. It'll be available there. If you guys would like me to pull it up, I definitely can, though. I know you said your computer froze, unfortunately.
That's okay. That's okay. We can go in and look at it.
Okay. Stop sharing at this point. One more question for you guys. Has anybody given you your employer number, your employer code? By any chance? Would start with 3 letters and then have 2 to 6 numbers after that? Or does it sound like I'm speaking French?
I haven't heard of that, no.
Okay. I'm happy to give that to you, and the reason why I ask is because if you were to call into the employer line, they're going to ask you for the name of the company and your employer code. Okay. So your employer code is COB, C as in cat, O as in octopus, B as in bat, 12692. Does anybody need me to repeat that? No. Okay. The employer support line, the phone number for that is 866-379-3630. And we are open from 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the consumer support number, so that would be for your employees if they had questions about their account, needed a new debit card sent out or something along those lines. The consumer support number is 888-350-5353. And the consumer line is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. And they're also open on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
What other questions are the consumer line? Like if I had an employee to call in, what other things to do? Debit card, if you want to replace a debit card, anything else?
Yep. Any question they might have on their account specifically. Anything that you would go into the bank for to ask about your checking account, we would be able to help them with. Logging in, if they're unable to log into their consumer portal and they need a password reset, we assist with that. We assist with if they need to update information, if they wanted to update their address or phone number. It's something they can do on their portal, but it's also something that we can assist them with. If they needed to add a dependent to their account, we can assist them with that. If they had questions about anything that they see in their account history, distributions or contributions to the account, we assist with that. We also assist with reporting fraud on their account. Fraud or disputes on the account, we assist with that as well. So essentially any question that they have about their personal account, we can help them with. One thing that I do find that people call about sometimes that we cannot assist with is what is considered a qualified medical expense. These accounts should only be used for qualified medical expenses, and that's something that is set by the federal government. And because it could have negative tax ramifications for them, we're not allowed to advise them of what is considered a qualified medical expense. That is something that they would have to go to irs.gov for. There are two publications related to HSAs that assist with that. Publication 502 assists directly with qualified medical expenses, what is considered a qualified medical expense and what is not, and even gives them breakdowns of specific expenses. That would be a qualified medical expense. And then publication 969 is a document that just breaks down how HSAs work specifically. Sometimes there are special circumstances under which someone could be considered your dependent. For example, if there was an adult in your household with a disability, and publication 969 breaks down all of those things for them.
Gotcha.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? I promise it gets easier once you get into it and you're working with it.
Okay.
I know it's a lot to blow through in an hour, for sure. But once you get into it, it's a lot easier than it seems to be. Another resource for you would be 53hsa.com. Let me pull that up for you guys so that you can actually see it. Has anybody talked to you guys about 53hsa.com at all? Okay. Gotcha. I was like, I don't know how fresh they are, if they told them anything. 1 second, my computer is thinking about it. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. There's several spaces for it, but for our purposes, we're going to go to employers. Scroll down a little bit. And HSA only resources. This isn't a multi-benefit account. And here's going to be the Employer Resource Center. And if I increase this right here, you can click on this first bullet. It's just going to take you to the employer portal where you can log in at. This also gives you the profile change from division change form. But the reason why I brought you here is because there are some how-tos. So I know that we kind of blew through how to do one-time and recurring contributions quickly. Here is a link to, a link to a publication that'll show you step-by-step how to walk through making one-time contributions and recurring contributions. We call them one-pagers on our side. So there's several one-pagers here, before one-pagers, that will walk you through it as well. So at least you won't be going into it blind. I've seen it, but that's something, a resource for you guys that you'll be able to use. Any further questions? I know I'm 2 minutes over my time.
Any other questions, guys?
Yeah. Anything at all?
Nothing that I can think of right now, but I'm sure we'll definitely have more questions as we get used to it and all that good stuff.
As you go through.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely understand. And you can definitely call in when you're going through your first import. And we'd be happy to help you through that, if you had any questions about it or you get stopped in the process for whatever reason. We're here to assist you for sure.
And do you have contact information, Angel?
Me personally, I do not have a personal number by any means that you would be able to specifically contact me for. You can contact me by email.
Okay.
So it's actually Angel.Livingston. I got married 2 years ago and they never changed my name on my email. So it is my maiden name. Good, I'm not alone.
No, you're not. I'm same boat.
Yeah.
Same boat.
Okay. I was like, goodness, you just don't want to accept it. But that would be Angel.Livingston@fisglobal.com is my email. But yeah, they won't accept it. My husband wasn't exactly excited about it, but we work for the same company, so.
Okay.
Why is it the same?
Okay.
They never changed it. It's not my fault. But I don't have a direct number. If you call into the employer line and ask for Angel, they know exactly who you're talking about. I'm the only person by that name here. And on the phone, I always just say Angel because it's easier than getting into a discussion on how do you say Angel? How do you spell it? And what does that mean? That whole conversation.
Understandable.
I get it.
Well,
Anything else, you guys?
No, I think you've hit everything. Like I said, thank you for the contact information. We have the phone number. We have questions. You are very thorough, and we appreciate you taking the time to go over this with us as we start this new endeavor. So it seems pretty, I have a pretty smart team, so I think we can figure it out. But definitely thank you for your information. If we have any stumbles, we will give you a call.
My pleasure, you guys. Once again, I do appreciate how interactive you were. You guys asked great questions, and I have high hopes for you guys. I'm sure that you can do it. But I do hope that you guys stay healthy and safe out here. The world is definitely getting better, so hopefully we don't have any more surges. We can get back to whatever the new normal is.
Definitely. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Sean,
Thank
for
you.
he's probably not on, but I want to thank him for hosting and setting everything up for us. We appreciate that.
Okay, I will pass that along to Sean so that he knows. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Angela.
You as well.
You too.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.